What's happening, everybody? I've got some catching up to do after that YouTube ban, and you know I'm not going to miss talking about those UFO videos. So, I'm sure you heard the news, and yeah. Came out last week. It's a little old, but again, I was not only banned off this channel for a week, I've got some really unique perspectives on this whole UFO video situation that a lot of other people out there don't have. And I feel like they're very helpful in understanding what the heck is actually going on with these. So, the Pentagon goes and declassifies those 3 UFO videos. The 3 UFO videos that pretty much everybody and their mother has seen. They've been plastered over the mainstream media for the last 3 years. Let's dig into this. And we're going to go right to the Pentagon statement on this because I don't care what any of the mainstream media prints on it. You know they're not going to print the story the right way or spin it the right way. And also, a lot of people in the alternative media and conspiracy media, I guess you could say, like underground truth tellers, even a lot of them don't really grasp the full big picture behind these videos and the whole UFO psyop push that's been going on for the last few years. So let me lay it out to you here in simple terms. Basically, when it comes to this Pentagon statement that came out on these videos, I think we learned 2 things from it. Number one, we learned that these videos were, I guess, what they call unidentified aerial phenomena. It's their new fancy buzzword for UFOs, UAPs now. So these videos are real, and they are of the, quote, unidentified aerial phenomena. So that's pretty much as far as they went with confirming them, but that speaks a whole lot without saying a whole lot. When encountering a particular UFO video or photo, or even seeing one in the sky, it really comes down to a very simple question. You see that UFO and you know that it's not a helicopter or some sort of drone or swamp gas, or it's not a fake CGI video or something like that. You got a real UFO sighting on your hands, or UAP sighting. One of 2 things. It's either ours or it's theirs. It's basically it. It's ours, meaning that it's a man-made black project craft, probably utilizing some sort of electrogravitic or anti-gravity drive that's kept super secret. Okay? Could be ours. That technology's existed. It's existed in the black projects for decades. There's been a lot of money funneled into them, so who knows what they've really built. Definite possibility. Or it's theirs. It's not man-made. It's some sort of extraterrestrial vehicle or spacecraft, and you just happen to be catching a glimpse at it. Lucky you. So it's either ours or theirs. Now, let's go into the second thing we learned from this, right? The first thing is huge enough in and of its own. A lot of people's minds are blown over the fact that, these videos are legit, I suppose. And for me, it's just another day. But I want to get to the second point here. And this is the one that might be really important for you. The second point is one little word that was written in this Pentagon statement, and that word is unauthorized. These videos, which have been circulating in the public domain after unauthorized releases in 2007 and 2017. See that? I think that part is going over a lot of people's heads. Unauthorized. In other words, this New York Times article in 2017 that came out in December, this was the release of that video, this New York Times article. Remember that? Black money. Oh, Tom DeLonge is now trying to disclose UFOs with his UFO research group, and he has all these intelligence guys and ex-military and government people, and oh my gosh, it's disclosure. That's not disclosure. The Pentagon just told you. Unauthorized releases. You know what that looks like to me? Another media leak. That looks like another media leak. How'd that video get out? Was it Lou Elizondo? The guy that's on Tom DeLonge's To the Stars Academy squad, who's been doing a bunch of mainstream media interviews for the last few years, and was it him? Or was it Chris Mellon? Chris Mellon, another one of those ex-Intel guys that's a part of Tom DeLonge's squad, who, Chris Mellon, a part of that big Mellon banking family. He was a staffer for Rockefeller one time. Funny thing about Lou Elizondo, who I was just talking about, it was James Clapper that brought him, of all people, James Clapper, that brought him into the Pentagon in 2008. So that sounds like swamp folk. If I hear these guys are connected to Rockefellers and James Clapper and, oh, now they're all working for Tom DeLonge and, oh, Tom DeLonge's research group has a bunch of ex-CIA guys a part of it. That was totally leaked. That was never supposed to happen. That was not authorized disclosure. So all of the mainstream media pumping of these UFO videos of Tom DeLonge's nonsense over the last 3 years, none of that's been official disclosure. None of it. It has not been sanctioned government disclosure. I don't know how many people in the UFO community try to claim it is. I don't know if they don't realize it's not or they're just useful idiots. Of course, people in the mainstream media don't know better. So that's the point here, guys. This is what I've been saying since day one. I've been saying this even before Q. Like literally the very first day I saw Tom DeLonge come out with his To the Stars Academy thing, which, let me go into some dates real quick. Sidestep. Let me put this into perspective for you. Trump made his calm before the storm statement on October, what was that, 6th? Early on in October 2017. Calm before the storm in the White House, all the military generals around him. It was only 5 days later that Tom DeLonge announced his To the Stars Academy initiative. Live stream on Facebook, all this stuff. 5 days later? Wow. Okay, Q started posting October 28th, 2017. When did this New York Times article come out? 6 weeks later. Talk about distraction, diversion, trying to manage the disclosure narratives. That's exactly what they've been trying to do with these UFO videos since day one. It was a planned leak. It was a planned leak. Give it to this UFO research group that Tom DeLonge's heading up now, so they can claim that they're pushing for all this disclosure, but they've been freaking greenlit. They've been pumped up with this. It's like the chips have been stacked for them to go and do this, right? And I was just talking about the timing in terms of when Q posted and this UFO stuff started blowing up. Remember when Q in December 2017, right after that New York Times article came out, told us that UFOs are basically a distraction? They went and said, UFOs put out to detract from drops. Again, this is all the way back in December 2017. A lot of people may not have been following Q at that point because it was still very early on. I've done a video, actually, that I released a couple months ago. I'll link it. I don't know what side they come up on. I'll link it up above. It'll come up in the card. In this video, I went through all of Q's drops from day one, and I outlaid every single hint of UFOs. And actually, there's a lot more than you might think. There's like 10 to 15 drops that have to do with UFOs or something along the lines of that subject. And this was the first one we got. I take that back. I don't think it was the first one we got, but it was the first direct statement in regards to UFOs we got. And Q said, yes, UFOs are put out to detract from drops. Now, let me clarify this, okay? A lot of people misconstrue it. This UFO story was put out to detract from the drops. Not everything in terms of UFOs, okay? The UFO subject, secret space program subject, extraterrestrials, it's been confirmed by Q. There's life out there, consider the vastness of space, programs exist outside our public domain, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been confirmed through a back channel from our government that is official disclosure. That's more disclosure than this, right? Trump has been telling us about secret space programs and aliens this whole time through Q. Now, essentially, yes, this UFO story is a distraction, but not all of it. There are incredibly important pieces of information and data within the UFO and secret space program subject. It all connects. It all connects in some way, shape, or form. Why do you think John Podesta had the food code words in his emails, but was also talking about zero-point energy and extraterrestrial intelligence in those WikiLeaks emails they released? It all connects. The same corrupt a-holes that are keeping free energy technology and anti-gravity and these amazing pieces of knowledge from us are the same folk that are super corrupt in other regards. And it's the same criminal syndicates and networks and et cetera, et cetera. So those are a few things there. And then last thing I want to discuss with you guys, okay, is that you can see the reaction since the Pentagon went and declassified these 3 UFO videos. And Tom DeLonge is trying to take a bunch of credit for it. Yeah, follow me if you want this to blow all wide open. Harry Reid, Senator Harry Reid, he's very connected in with a lot of these UFO stuff and Tom DeLonge's group and all that. He's saying, I'm glad the Pentagon is finally releasing the footage and The U.S. needs to make a more serious scientific look at this. So what's going on here? Basically, what I'm showing you with these tweets is that they're trying to claim credit for it. And as time progresses and as we near the election, the subject of disclosure is going to become very political. You can sort of already see it. The candidates have been asked questions about UFOs. The media is very carefully approaching the subject, but they're doing so in a very whitewashed, half-truth way. I think the idea of UFOs and disclosure is going to become very political, and they're going to make it political as we head towards the election. It already is political in the underground UFO community. There's a lot of hardcore anti-Trumpers there, and they try to push out any talk of Q as they can. I've been pushed out of conferences for talking about Q, and I've been asked not to talk about political stuff at different UFO talks I've done. So there's a very underlying, they don't talk about it, but it definitely is there, political feel. They're going to bring that to the mainstream and the mainstream UFO audiences. And I think they might try to press Donald Trump with that question. And, it's just going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But you got to understand that a lot of what we're seeing in the mainstream media and even in the, quote, alternative media that's not really alternative, like on Joe Rogan's podcasts and Netflix documentaries and things like that, limited hangout disclosures meant to manage the narratives, meant to set up their gatekeepers. There's a whole lot of gatekeepers being set up right now with this UFO stuff, and make it very political, of course, as the deep state always goes and does. So be careful of those things. Although right now, it is interesting, last point, that the Pentagon goes and does this. Because I'm sitting here scratching my thinking beard, and I'm like, what would the Pentagon's motive for this be now? Why would they want to feed into that UFO psyop? They didn't have to go and declassify these by any means. So I think the reason they went and did this is because basically nothing can stop what is coming. They can go and declassify these UFO videos that some CIA hacks went and leaked 3 years ago, and it doesn't matter because we've got enough people that are woke, that are waking up right now, that get it. And they see the corruption in politics and everywhere, and the engagement. So, for instance, the engagement on Q followers and Q researchers is crazy. It's way higher than anything having to do with Tom DeLonge and his UFO research group or these UFO videos. In the last 3 years, nobody's cared about Tom DeLonge or his videos. Nobody. That stuff went nowhere. But how much engagement does Q get? My God, it's worldwide. And you can have dozens and dozens of Q pundits, personalities, get thousands and thousands of likes per tweet, hundreds of thousands of views on their videos. It's insane. So I think the White Hats know that. They know that even by declassifying these videos, that it's not even going to feed into the energy of the limited hangout psyop, because enough people are awake and aware. Enough people get that UFO stuff is kind of a distraction. Enough people get that the corruption's going to get exposed anyway. And you might as well go and just declassify these to wake the public up. Boom. How many people are freaking awake and aware now and taking this subject more seriously because that happened? So I think nothing can stop what is coming regardless. White Hats went and disclosed that video just to wake some people up. And I don't think that this whole UFO mainstream media limited hangout nonsense, it's not going to work, because we're too hungry for the truth, and we can sniff out their BS miles away by now. Miles away. So they're not going to distract us with shiny objects here, right? That's what they're literally trying to do, distract us with shiny flying saucers. We are going to get the full truth because we know it's out there. We know there's a lot more information that goes a lot deeper than anything the mainstream media has been trying to sell us in terms of space and ETs and secret space programs. It's coming, guys. Disclosure's coming. It's going to be amazing, and it might be scary. It might break down some belief systems of yours. It might trigger some cognitive dissonance in you, but try to just keep an open mind, keep researching, and keep the awakening going. So that's all for this one, guys. Thank you for watching. Remember, hit that description below. Figure out where to follow me. If you want to support me, you can do so there. And stay tuned, everybody.